This is N4NT, and we ask that this frequency remain clear as we conduct a last call. K4JP. 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 My fellow amateurs and members of the Bristol Amateur Radio Club, Eddie Palmer, K4JP, has not answered his last call. As of April the 27th, 2023, K4JP is a silent key. He attended Kingsport City Schools and graduated from Dobyns Bennett High School. He attended the University of Miami and immediately after went to work with his dad, who owned Tennessee Instrumentation Company, Incorporated. Eddie later became owner of the business, retiring in 2000 after selling the company. He owned and maintained repeaters in the area that brought many amateurs together from as far as Marion, Virginia, all the way to Morristown and several points around and in between. Amateur radio is much more than the radios we build and buy. It's about the friendships we make on the other side of the mic. The legacy Eddie leaves through his contribution to this hobby will ensure that amateurs will continue to make these connections for years to come. Long live the memory of K4JP. At this time, we'll observe a moment of silence, and then we will start the net. Calling the Bristol 2-meter net, calling the Bristol 2-meter net. This is N4NT. My name is Adam, and I'll be the net control station for this session. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? The Bristol 2-meter net meets each Tuesday at 9 p.m. on the 146.67 repeater. This net is affiliated with the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, the National Traffic System, and the Bristol Amateur Radio Club. All amateurs are welcome to check into the net. Are there any announcements or bulletins for the net? Is there any formal or informal traffic for the net? Okay, before we start taking check-ins, I would like to encourage anyone that knew Eddie Palmer to include in your comments anything that you would like to say if you choose to do so about Eddie, or share any memories or thoughts to the family or anything like that that you wish to share. And of course, we'll conduct normal net operations and take any other comments that anyone would like to make. At this time, are there any mobile stations with or without traffic who would like to check in? Any mobiles or portable stations?
WE4AWJ, Emmett Portable in Bristol.
K4XMN, Portable in Bristol.
Okay, we picked up two there. I apologize for not including the word portable, and I appreciate you guys taking me quite literal on what I was saying and paying attention. But we got WE4AWJ and K4XMN.
Oh, yes, I'll be here.
Okay, Chris, are you able to, or do you want to go ahead and comment?
I'll stick around.
Okay, thanks for checking in. We'll be back to you in just a moment. Let's go ahead and open the floor now for any and all check-ins. All check-ins, please call now.
Net control, please check in Kilo Delta 4, Whiskey Mike X-ray, KD4 Mexican, and quiet low die.
N4KCS, Gary, Bonnie Flats.
K4TEN, Frankie, Bristol.
Bristol.
Okay, had a double up. Let me go ahead and recognize what I got here. KD4WMX got you, N4KZS, and K4TEN. The other station doubled. I caught Bristol, so the station that doubled, I think it might have been Ben, but go ahead and try again, please.
Yeah, good evening, Adam. That was me, KT40.
Hey, I'm getting better at my voice recognition. Got you on there, Ben, KT40. Any other stations?
Net control, please check in KD4CCO, Dallas, Bristol.
All right, I always recognize that voice and start typing the call before you give it out. He's been checking in as long as I've been calling nets. KD4CCO got you. Any other station? Okay, well, let's roll with what we got, and if you're out there waiting to check in, we'll get you as soon as we go through the list here. Let's go up for comments first from WE4AWJ.
Well, good evening, Adam, everybody on the net, and anybody that might be listening. This is WE4AWJ. Well, good evening, everybody. And, well, I've not been doing too awfully much, and yet I've been doing a whole lot. Managed to put a latch on my truck tonight, and or this afternoon, and build a scanner antenna for 47 megahertz. So I just wanted to do it, and I did it. So it works. Anyway, that's that's what I'm doing. And it's Eddie. I remember Eddie. He was already retired before I really got on the repeaters, but I always remember he seemed to be always in a hurry, always something to do, and I always look forward to talking to him, and then he'd disappear back to Florida. And but I appreciate him having the repeaters that he did have, and making an opportunity for all of us. And on another note, Dale has a radio now, and he may be listening. So I didn't hear him check in. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and check Dale in tonight and say hello to Dale. And so that's pretty much it with me. Hope everybody has a good week, and I want to say 73s to everybody, and I'll turn it back to Net Control. This is WE4AWJ.
Okay, Emmett, thanks for checking in. Appreciate that information. Hopefully Dale is listening, and while we share memories of Eddie, we can send well wishes to Dale as well. And I've got him on the list as a proxy check-in for now. We'll acknowledge him at the end of the list just in case he's there or able to come back to us. Up next, we've got our normal net control station, but I'm subbing in tonight. Here's K4XMN. Good evening, Chris.
N4NT, K4XMN. Yeah, I appreciate you picking up the net tonight. Yeah, I know you said you wanted to do a last call for Eddie, so which sounds good. So not much going on here, just working a couple more days left, and then be off for a while. So other than that, not a lot going on here. So Yeah, we remembered talking to Eddie here quite a bit whenever he was in during the summer, and then usually whenever he headed back to Florida, I'd usually catch him a lot on 20 meters and 40 meters a lot. And I just had remembered one year I had just talked to him literally like on the local repeater here, and then the very next day I heard him on 20 meters and he was back in Florida. And I'm like, and I talked to him for quite a while, and I was telling him, I said, I didn't know you was headed back to Florida. He said, yeah, I head back about this time every year. He said, sometimes I'll go early, sometimes I'll stay here for a little while longer, but he said just whenever I take an ocean, I'll just head on back. So, but yeah, he and me and him had many talks during the winter when he was in Florida. So he sure will be a ham that'll be missed. So, and so just hope his family's doing well, and we'll back off here. So say 73, and hope everybody has a good week. K4XMN 73.
Okay, Chris, thanks for checking in tonight and sharing those comments about Eddie. I remember when I first met him, when I first got my ticket back in '92. I got on the 7.6 repeater, threw my call out, and he came back to me, and he was explaining to me all the ins and outs of maintaining and operating a repeater. He showed me all the neat little functions he could put in the DTMF codes, and the repeater would talk back to you and say funny stuff. So I always remember that. I can't remember every conversation, of course, but that one will always stick out in my mind. Well, up next, let's go to Quiet Lodi and Ken, KD4WMX. Good evening, Ken.
Well, good evening, Adam. Appreciate you picking up the net and doing the last call for Eddie. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing him, but we will definitely keep his family in our prayers. And I know a lot of you did know him. I didn't have the pleasure, but like I said, definitely keep his family in prayer. But not much to report here in Quiet Lodi, except the cows aren't mooing and the birds aren't singing. You want to know why they're not singing? Ask them it. That's a running joke we have around here. And it was a beautiful day today, and I'll say 73 to everybody, and hopefully it's a pretty day tomorrow too. It's KD4WMX, back to N4NT.
All right, Ken, thanks for checking in. Yeah, you need some of those mile or more birds in Lodi. That's those ones when they stick their head in the ground and whistle, you can hear it for a mile or more. All right, up next we've got our club treasurer checking in with us tonight, Gary, N4KZS. Good evening, Gary.
Hey, good evening, Adam. Rest of the guys, or maybe gals that might be signing in. Doing okay. I've had sinus infection. Been dealing with that all week. Been just hanging at the house, working a little DX. I might mention a couple of things in reference to Eddie Palmer. Of course, Eddie was there in '83 when I first came on the air as a technician. Always there to help us, teach us. And Adam, I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, but back in the early 70s, Eddie was one of the instructors for the first State of Tennessee Emergency Medical Technician class. It was held at the Kingsport Rescue Squad. I forget how many months we went down there at night, a couple of nights a week. We'd all load up in the crew unit and head that way. But I guess that's where I first met him before I was a amateur, was there in that. And he did a lot of work in the fire service and everything. But Eddie was definitely an icon in the ham radio community. And, he kept a couple of super repeaters going that we all enjoyed thoroughly. I can remember, let me let it sit. I can remember having ducting going on through the 7-6 on Holston or the 6-1 on Brumley. And you didn't know who you was going to talk to. It was coming all over the country, ducting in there on those repeaters. But we enjoyed them and appreciated that all the time that we had knowing Eddie. The last time I seen him, he was in for a visit from Florida, and we went to the Paramount. I can't remember what group of singers or what was going on down there, but I ran into him and his wife down there. Anyway, that's about it from this end here in Piney Flats. We'll say 73's to all there, and back to you, Adam.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Gary. I don't recall ever talking to him about being in fire service or emergency medical service. That might have been a conversation we had in later years. But I'm glad you brought that up and mentioned that. I was trying to think if I'd had that conversation with him, because I know I took a little hiatus there for a few years from the hobby, and then got back into it pretty heavily there in the late 90s, and Eddie was still around here, and we talked quite a bit because I had moved to this area and was I would get on the interstate in Marion and get on his repeater and be able to talk all the way home when I was living in the Bluff City area. So we may have talked about that. All right, up next we've got Frankie, K4TE, and good evening, Frankie.
Hello, Adam, and everyone in the net. Just wanted to say that in memory of Eddie, can't hardly believe he's gone. He's such an icon. K4 Little Sweet Pea. Remember, had many a conversation with him, recently, and I guess it's been about a year ago is the last time I talked to him, but over the years, just Eddie's such a giving person, very intelligent, always helped anyone in need. He's a real ham's ham. And I feel richer having known him. Kind of like an era that's passing, I suppose. We went to Shelby a couple times with him, and talked. I never did make a trip up to the repeater sites. Ended up having to work and stuff every time I'd catch him, but he'd take people up and help him and show them around, and just always willing to give everybody a hand. It's such a good fella. Can't think of anything bad to say about him. He's just a real nice friend and a real nice ham. Gonna miss him. That's K4TEN.
Thank you for checking in tonight, Frankie, and appreciate those comments. Very well said. Up next, we've got KT40, Ben.
Okay, Adam, and everybody on the net, good evening, and thank you for the last call there for Eddie. Knew him. He signed my CSCE in 1991 when I got my technician as a 16-year-old, and I think later on that fall, I think I made a trip with him up to Brumley Mountain, so when he had to do some work on the 6-1 repeater. But one thing about Eddie, and Frankie just said some great things about Eddie. Can't really say any more than that. But one thing that about Eddie, he didn't care what walk of life you were from, what your social or economic status was. He'd take an interest in you, and he'd meet somebody on one of the repeaters, and he'd talk to them, and he might not run into him for a year, but he'd follow up with them like, hey, well, how's this going, or how's that going? I remember you telling me that. I mean, he almost had a memory like a steel trap, and just very personable in that way, and I think that's why, folks were just enjoyed using his repeaters, and then and the fun. The cut upping and all the fun that he used to instigate, and that'll one of those things that'll just be missed and shoes that'll never be filled. That's for sure. Anyway, thanks, Adam. Good evening to everybody on the net. KT4O.
Yeah, Ben, I used to love to just sit back and listen to when Eddie and a group of people would be talking, and the conversations that he would somewhat moderate sometimes, and the things that he'd say. He definitely had a mind, like you were saying, because I played musical call signs there for a few years, and every time I would talk to him when he started going to Florida and coming back, I'd have a different call sign, but he'd always remember who I was. Appreciate those comments. Hope you have a good evening. Up next we have KD4CCO. Good evening, Dallas.
Good evening, Adam and everybody else on the net. Well, I didn't know Eddie very well. I heard him a lot on the various repeaters, and I certainly didn't mind using his repeaters to make my conversations. So I appreciate him for all the work that he did. Not much going on over here tonight. Temperatures are finally moderating a little bit. I'm showing 65 degrees, which is warm from what we've had in the past. So I think we're going to have about 2 or 3 days of warm weather, and then who knows what we're going to get again. But that's about it. I'll say 73s and turn it back to net control. This is KD4CCO.
Okay, Dallas, thanks for checking in tonight. Appreciate you being there. Well, up next, we've got KT4SQ. Dale checked in by proxy. Emmett checked him in, but we're going to see if he's able to come back to us. Dale, are you in there tonight?
KT4SQ listening.
Okay, well, thank you for bringing Dale to the net tonight, and Emmett, appreciate you checking him in. And it's good to know that he is listening. And Dale, we've been thinking about you, and if you need us, we're a phone call or a shout on the radio away. Just let us know. I have at work been patrolling by your house to make sure that everything's okay in your neighborhood whenever I'm working at night and stuff. So I'm always available. All right, that brings us to the bottom of the check-in list. Let's see, is there anyone else out there that would like to check in? Please call now.
KD4WMX recheck. Will you check in KQ4DCP proxy? KD4WMX clear.
Okay, Ken, yeah, we got Jerry on the list there from out on South Holston Lake or wherever he's at tonight, KQ4DCP. Is there any other stations that would like to check in?
Kilo Fox 4, Mike Sugar Victor.
KF4MSV, Darrell got you on the list. We're in the twilight of the net, so we'll go ahead and turn it over to you for comments.
Yeah, I've been listening for a little bit, and just all the things that Eddie's done for everybody over the years, and he really helped me out a lot, and just like I said, just can't say enough about him. He really helped everybody out, and he's gonna be truly missed.
Yeah, that's for sure. He definitely made a big contribution to this hobby, and a whole lot of other things for that matter. Appreciate you checking in tonight, Darrell. Did you have any additional?
Really too many things to mention. Just over the years, he's we all
all done a lot of stuff over the years, so just just too many to mention, but everybody knows. But anyway, everybody have a good evening. 7-3 from KF4MSV.
Okay, Darrell, thanks for checking in, and definitely appreciate those comments. I've heard you and Eddie having many conversations over the years, so I know you knew him well and was close friends, as well as a few other folks that checked in tonight. So definitely appreciate all that. All right, that brings us to the bottom of the list once again. This is N4NT with the Bristol 2-meter net. Do we have any other stations that would like to check in? Okay, well, I would like to request if anyone has any, like an email in particular, contact information for Eddie's family, his wife or someone. I'd like to share a link to this where we recorded this net, put it on YouTube, and share that with his family. I try to do that with each one of these that we do. With that, does anyone have anything else for the net before we close? Okay, hearing none. We did use NetLogger tonight, and we always put our last call as the first check-in, and then of course Net Control is counted amongst the check-ins. So with those two things in consideration, we had a total number of 12 check-ins this evening. Thanks to each of you for taking the time to check into the net. This is N4NT closing the Bristol 2-meter net at 9:27 p.m. and returning the W4UD repeater back to normal amateur use. 7-3, and good night.